Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth. Middlemen.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the Middlemen of Jurors. Already, the clock is ticking really fast to put the year behind it. I'm Juror Cyril Abako, and with me on this episode are Jurors Emeka Madonago, who will be peeping through the crowd that visited the president's home this Christmas. Elvis Elimihele, who will put himself in the shoes of helpless deputy governors in Nigeria. The juror from Rabbi, Evans Ufeli, will serve a taste of Nigerian poverty and why it hasn't gone away yet. And of course, the juror who is blessed among men, Olajumoke Alawode James, who will be taking us through the events of the final week of 2023. When we come back, I will take my case on the genocide on the Plateau. Stay with us.
Middleman.
My case, the genocide on the Plateau. No fewer than 160 persons were killed in villages in Plateau State across 3 local government areas, namely Bokos, Barakinladi, and Mangu. In July, when the Grim Reaper last visited on a massive scale of this kind in Plateau, it took only a weekend to level several villages with an alarming toll of more than 200 persons killed, not to mention those who were injured and the thousands that were displaced and re-displaced. This latest round of killings, coming on Christmas Eve, had all the trappings of a masterfully, if vengefully executed brutality, for which defenseless villagers and farmers were hacked to death in their hundreds. It may not pay to belabor the point, but it does appear that the federal government is suffering some kind of mental fatigue in dealing with this recurrent problem. When you consider that it's been dragged in Kaduna over the drone strike on Tudumbiri, in which more than 126 innocent persons were killed, as well as in other parts of the north, where entrenched terrorists have made a pastime of killing Nigerians for fun. The nature of the killings is one that raises questions and only more questions. Why always the Plateau? Why are the pastoralists, or more simply put, the headsmen who perpetrate these killings, not always brought to book? A killing on this scale, what I call a genocide, unspotted and unprevented by the intelligence services, is surely a disservice to any country, not least to Nigeria. Both the state and the federal governments have done the predictable thing, which is to condemn the killings and promise that justice will be served. But history tells us a different story, sadly. Here's my ruling. The government must take full responsibility for the needless killings of defenseless populations. It may not be a crime if the federal government indeed was unable to foretell and forestall these killings, but it will become blatant complicity if they won't do anything more than wait until the next killings happen. We must equip these villagers to undertake their own self-defense. The government must also release monies to rebuild lost farmlands, lost homes, livelihoods, and restore to the people everything they've lost. I so rule.
Juror Cyril, your case this afternoon is quite a very disturbing one. This is one killings too many. Mm-hmm. I went to the University of Jos. Left Jos around 2001 to 2002, which actually the killings had started as far back as then to date. It's either one village is leveled, the other is completely shut down, or there's usually an attack from all different locations in that same state. The causes of this crisis, or these killings, have not been properly identified. Some say it's political, some say it has to do with feudalism, some say it has to do with takeover.
Al Jazeera said it's climate change.
Yeah, a lot, because, but the truth is that when you have identified your problem, whether you understand the source or not, it is the responsibility of the state, the sovereign to take control of that territory and do what is expected of it as a matter of urgency.
I have a question.
But the Nigerian government keeps failing the people. Most times, it's after the killings that you see the soldiers. Sometimes you find the soldiers, they don't respond to distress calls. So when you say the security and welfare of the people shall be the
Primary
goal
objective of government.
it means that is a lie. Because in our clan,
It's not the objective of government.
From wherever we want to copy that phrase from.
We need to return it to them.
Yes, we need to do it. We're not ready to implement it.
But I have a question, right? Why is it rocket science for government to preempt terrorist attacks? Because other countries do it.
There's what you call intelligence.
We have Nigerian Intelligence Academy, there's NIA, we have DSS, we have a national security advisor. What really are we doing? What are other countries doing that Nigeria is unable to do?
I think we need to look at this thing from the situation in Taraba State. The same pastoralists who have been accused of killings, have been unable to replicate the same thing in Taraba State. So what is going on in Taraba State? How have the people been able to resist these same things happening? Then that tells you that actually the allegation that it is political is to be believed, is to be strongly believed. Because you find out that these fellows, after killing the people, they rename their villages. They take over their farmlands, they take over their properties, and they domicile their animals there. So, what I believe is that there is a systematic genocide going on to wipe out people, to wipe out indigenous populations in Benue and Plateau states, and to achieve a predetermined objective. The people in government pretending, wringing their hands, pretending as if they cannot do anything, should be held complicit. When law and order finally breaks,
Who will hold them
breaks
complicit?
down,
The citizen should hold them complicit.
Well, because we have not been able to do it. President Buhari used to condemn it. President Tinubu has continued in that.
President Jonathan was also condemned.
He's so condemned.
A state that prides itself as state of peace and tourism,
Yes.
Plateau State, has now become a state where we are picking corpses on the streets as if we are in another Afghanistan or we are somewhere in
Syria.
Gaza now, as the case may be. I'm surprised at what happened during the government of Lalonde, just the past governor, has also,
Continued.
cropped into Mufta's government. Now, remember there was a time corpses were taken to State House during the past administration because of this genocidal killing over there. Now it has continued. But when it happens, the government always come to tell you that they are on top of the situation, the perpetrator will be fished out and be punished. But we are looking at a case that have taken over 10 years.
What's
now.
the solution?
Nobody has been prosecuted.
What's the
Then
solution?
The big question is, what is the solution?
There is complicity.
What is government of Tinubu going to do about this?
The solution is that the federal government must take its place as a sovereign. Okay, one of the most important attributes of a sovereign is the monopoly of violence. Okay, it is only the federal government that can appropriate violence to itself and disseminate whatever it is that have become a cankerworm that is eating deeply into the fabrics of our nation in that axis.
To do that,
Yeah,
what does
because-
President Tinubu need to do?
What he needs to do is to put up the right security apparatus to ensure that they get them in their hideout. Because we have seen satellite videos that show these people where they are located, when they are cooking, when they are having their pastime.
Yes.
We've seen that online. They know where these people are. But you see, they have been unable to get to that spot.
Is
What you
it a
see
lack of
sometimes-
political will?
No. What the truth is that the hand of the federal government is in that crisis. Yes, it's
So
there.
this crisis is political. Why do I say so?
They
If you
collude.
remember, many years ago, it was something like this that led to the creation of Wase area, which is today a federal constituency. So, to my mind, it appears that there are some people with a predetermined objective to create more of such exclusive areas for their own people and remove the indigenous people from their homelands. So the people have to rise up. I feel that's the solution. They have to rise up, like the people in Taraba who are, who are mainly the Jukuns, who are warlike people. They will have to rise up and say, enough is enough.
Are you suggesting they take laws into their hands?
Well, this has gone beyond taking the laws into their hands. This is now about defending themselves.
So these are people who have lived
because
together.
the laws also give you the right of self-defense.
Let me
self-defense.
just make in a point here before we wrap on this topic. In Plateau, when these pastoralists take over a community by killing people, they rename the community out of the Birom language into Fulani language. The Birom will now write a letter to the federal government saying, see what has happened, and the federal government will now write to them and say, for example, they took Haipang. They want to say, instead of replying and saying Haipang, they will call it the Fulani name.
Oh my goodness.
Why the complicity?
In the correspondence. So we are not dealing with a light issue here.
Wow.
That is why when it is not a joke.
Supporting.
We are not joking here. So
The hand of the federal government.
is there an agenda?
Let them come and defend
Yes, there's an agenda.
Yes.
Ask yourself, between this latest attack and when the federal government responded, how long did it take? Do you know that they were even saying that because the terrain of where the killing took place was so long, that was why the security agents could not even. But the truth of the matter is that these killings have been going on for a long time, quietly. Some maybe so when that they give 200, 500, but on a daily basis, on farm, people are killed steadily.
They don't. Their means of livelihood.
When they change the name of the local government or of the village to a Fulani name, when the natives now write and say they've done this, they will reply them in the letter calling that same place a Fulani name.
The government is in support of what is going on.
Do you know that there's an allegation that a youth leader who led a reprisal attack against these herdsmen
Was arrested.
was traced to Lagos and arrested, and is believed to have been killed.
But they cannot trace those who are in that place. In Benue, the Minister of Defense under Buhari went to meet the villagers. Was it not? What's his name now? And said, "Bring your guns. We will protect you. Villagers, don't worry." The villagers brought their guns out and gave to the government, and they took it away. The following day, what happened?
They
They
were
came
attacked.
to-
They leveled the whole village.
It was because of this
So you are telling me?
It's because of this kind of outplay. That was why the Ruga didn't work.
Yes.
People were saying it's well intentioned. Nothing is well intentioned under the circumstance. Everybody's a suspect. Now you see, that is why I love the answer that Wike gave to them.
The road to hell is paved with good
told the
intentions.
President Buhari then that I don't have land. But I have water. So if you bring pipe, I can pump water from our distance to you, but I don't have land. So the way even the late Akeredolu and the Delta State government, the Southern governors, the way they came together and fought against that open grazing.
Ruga.
Yeah, because you see, that was an attempt. All the policies of Buhari are policies that will
I'm having
always
heart
lead-
palpitations.
All the policies of Buhari are policies that will always lead to nothing. Because at the end of the day, we tell it's not aware.
It's not aware.
So, in order for us not to run into such kind of unaware, what do I call it now? This kind of arrangement.
Unawareness.
Yes, but for Jos, for Plateau, it was too late for them because the crisis predated our own plea. At least they were pleading that we should.
Yes.
But their own, these people have already resettled in that place and have enmeshed themselves, created portals. So they are already stationary. So it's difficult for you now to come and unseal them out of that spot. But when you go to Jos, you see the most beautiful city in Nigeria in desolation.
I wanted you to harp on the solution that you recommended. And I was asking the question of, is it lack of political will? Because if the hand of the federal government is in there, in terms of the civil servants, the police or the soldiers that the villagers are writing to say, oh, our village has been taken over, the government replies them in the new Fulani name, showing that there's government complacency, right? So if that is so, the solution that the federal government ought to, show itself.
The federal government is no longer a neutral solution.
Is that a solution?
They are now, no, that's why I said
They are
that.
complicit.
In my own the most pragmatic thing to do now is for those villages to rise up on their own and defend their land
Self-defense.
at whatever cost.
There are
Yes.
a former Operation Safe Haven Commandant, Major General Ayola. I saw him some days ago talking about this massacre in Plateau. He said before he left there, he has written so many papers on what is the issue with the crisis in Plateau. He said it's in the archives. The
Wow.
government should look at it and look at probable way of solving this problem from what he has written.
You know why government cannot solve-
subsequent governments have not talked about it. Buhari, we so believe that as a retired major
He
general,
doesn't read.
would be able to look at all the crises in Nigeria and solve it.
Doesn't
he will tell you
read.
he's not aware. So he's not aware. He has left after 8 years, and now the situation has also
You
committed.
know why,
He may
you
not
know
be
why, you know
reading
why the
also.
federal government cannot solve the problem? The reason the federal government cannot solve the problem is politics.
Wow.
Okay, you will call Buhari, what do you call him now?
Tinubu.
Tinubu now to go and address that issue, to fight against the Fulanis that gave him votes, that made him to win.
That's the biggest thing.
So you see,
Vote.
as long as our focus is politics and not governance, we
Jesus.
can never get it right. Until we decide that governance comes first and that politics is an activity, but governance is sustainability. That is the only point where we will make progress. Otherwise, we're just wasting our time.
When we come back, Juro Jumoke James will be taking a look at the final weeks of the year. Stay with us.
Middleman.
Welcome back. We're still on the Middlemen of Jurors. And my case today is to just ask a very simple question. When will Nigerians have sense? Last week, we discussed 50% transportation rebates given by the federal government for us to travel home to our respective villages. I still haven't seen anyone who got the rebates. But now they hide enjoy this government. Port Harcourt refinery fuel self that they promised to start pouring after Christmas, we still never see them. Abi, that one self is only for Rivers people. I was also complaining about buying Naira in Nigeria when I hadn't even been affected. I have bought my own, no. I spent 800 Naira to buy 10,000 Naira cash. Then my Eastern brothers were showing us their mansions as they reached home. Thank God for Johnny Messizo. They are not flaunting their factories. I've been an importer, exporter, all of us still they do. While the ethnic wars are ongoing, religious massacres are still happening up north. The Plateau massacre was heartbreaking. Are we not distracted from the main issues like this? See, this life is too short. See Governor Akeredolu and Speaker Naba passing on in their 60s. May God rest their souls. Those are rich Nigerians. Oh. Life expectancy has never been so low. Instead of us to be fighting for government to provide good and safe roads to travel home, hospitals that will have all the needed equipment, and good quality schools for the next generation, we are joining politicians to defend their stolen wealth and mandates. Did you see how all of them gather to celebrate Christmas? Them invite you. Well, the Lagos ones gather to collect handouts. That's what the poor deserve, Abi. Where will we have sense? My verdict: Nigerians can never have sense. Poverty has been so weaponized that we defend our oppressors here. We fight for our ethnic brothers to get into government, like that will make us rich. How did Obasanjo's government improve the lives of Yorubas? Did Buhari's government, that's the government of a former general and dictator, make the North even safer? Make una dey play.
Well, okay.
Serious case.
Your case is, well, I'm trying to get it right. Is it actually a case of not having sense?
We don't have sense,
Or
so.
a case of, hold on. Or a case of perpetual, submission to the desire to be poor.
Jesu.
Yes. Because, during the election-
Juro Evans, before
Yes.
you talk about elections, just tell me one phrase like that you told me once, that Nigerians have a something with poverty.
Yes.
Do you remember?
But each time Nigeria get to a point where they are almost at the turning point, and they remember their fellowship with poverty. They turn it around, they go back. If you look at all the situations we've had, it's just one stroke. Nigerians like to be poor. Yes, that's what I think.
That's a serious indictment too.
Yes, an indictment. It is an indictment that I have evidence to prove. Because we have seen situations where during elections, people choose to collect money, gratification, and just sell off their civic responsibilities. We have seen situations where you'll find a mob action in the market square, where somebody has been allegedly accused of stealing phone or food. He's hacked down and burnt. But when the politicians come around
Steal billions.
with their SUVs, we wave them. When we are at one event, when one of the politicians who went to prison before and was granted presidential pardon came to the event, immediately entered the place. Everybody stood up and they were hailing him. At that event, somewhere at
Weaponized
the
poverty.
East. So when you sit down to think about the Nigerian and their approach to their problem, you will find out that you are the one who is belaboring your heart and spirit that they
True.
have a problem.
True.
They are quite very comfortable in that
Where they are.
desolate condition.
I agree.
And you see the way they go about addressing their thieves, those who have stolen from them.
Yes.
They accord them.
My
a lot
thief
of
is
respect.
richer than your own thief.
Yes, but the others who who are maybe trying to defend them are the ones. I was doing empowerment for women and children. I do cases against rape. Against one of the cases I went to do at Ikorodu, a lady who had just been raped, and I was called on to take on that case under Cadre Advocacy Center. Some Nigerians in the diaspora had contributed funds for us to have that case effectively. I was at the middle of that case to rescue that girl when the same family member stole my phone. Yes, I had a car then that when you start that car, you must drive a particular distance within an hour when you're off. So when the car off, I'll leave it wherever the car is and I'll continue my journey. You understand? They stole my phone. The people I was fighting for in court are the ones that stole my phone. So I tell you that this this country, no, of course, no, we later found it now. Who got it now from the same
family?
The younger brother to the victim.
Oh my goodness.
You understand?
He saw his chance.
So I mean, we're in a very big trouble.
That is why the word here, weaponized. The government knows that we are docile.
Jesus.
That the little they throw at us,
we fight.
We fight to grab it.
Mr. Hafiz, when was the last time you saw a public library in Nigeria?
No, not at all. Remember, the few people who benefited from this 50% slash in transport fare, look at the praises they are giving to government. Oh, help us to thank President Tinubu. At least this is one of the dividends of the democracy. They know too well that whatever they dangle at us, we are ready to praise them to high heavens.
One of the persons in the village that got 3 cups of rice from the palliative. 8 bags got to the village. 3 cups for family. One of them came out and said, I didn't think government remembers them like this all the time. Now there will be no problem, but just that they don't remember them at all.
Can I tell you, there is even what you mentioned about the public library. There's someone very
because if you have public library, people will be empowered.
A very influential person from my town, a wealthy family. Their father was an accomplished public servant, and they now decided to set up a public library. Some people came out and said, "Is this what we need?" That what we need is periodically just gather bags of rice, beans, garri, and share to the people.
Goodness.
And I tackled such people, and you can imagine there's this disconnect. If somebody, that same family, some months ago, gave out free health insurance to about 750 people from my town, but somebody I know, went on a WhatsApp group and was saying that this is not what we need. That why will somebody be wishing for people to be falling sick so that they'll be going to the hospital and all of that.
Health insurance.
I tackled him. I asked him, which one have you done? Somebody has done one. You just sit somewhere and you don't.
Do you know this same issue of the public library I just talked about? That level of intellectual capacity, savvy, is why they had to shut down Twitter. The reason you don't have library was the reason they shut down Twitter then. Because if you're on Twitter, Twitter is very cerebral.
Yes.
Okay, so the people get so...
Yeah.
We learn every day on Twitter.
And if you go to spaces now, there's space on Twitter where they talk issues.
Yes.
Those professors who can't come out to talk very well, they invite them to all those spaces. If you listen to Nigerians talk there, you will not believe that we are still poor. You will think
Nigerians
that
are very
conference that you are. You understand?
Juro from Rabbi. Nigerians are well educated. Nigerians are very exposed. We travel the most. You will find a Nigerian in every country of the world, right? When it comes to conferences, locally, internationally, we are the top speakers. We write all the books. We do all the articles. We have all the education. Tell me the disconnect. Why are these exposed, educated people accepting? Once, my professor in international law and diplomacy, Professor Oyebode, he's from Ekiti State, says he's ashamed of himself. At the time, his governor was Governor Fayose, and he was saying Ekiti State with the most professors in Nigeria, one professor in every home. Our governor is a tout.
No, so I think
Your professor may not even govern well.
the problem.
We have one in our recent history.
Yes.
Who was a disaster?
Yes.
So Jumoke, let me just quickly try to address the issue. I think it was Professor Kole Motosho, who has passed now, who said one time that Nigeria is a failure, not because of the individuals in it, but because of what it becomes as a collective.
Yes.
All these people are talking about have succeeded individually.
Capacity as individuals.
Yes, but in terms of
as a
a
collective,
system, we have failed.
Aggregation.
Yes.
Okay, so we're afraid to die. So we refuse to gather.
We monetize our problems.
Yes.
I'll give you an example in my family, where some relatives suddenly woke up to say that part of my father's land belongs to them. And then, of course, we went for a family meeting. And what I could read, the body language was that if I could shell out money, dole out money, they would throw out the guy's case. And I told them, no, I'm not made of such stuff. That he will have to come and prove to the last point. Because all documents and everything, are available. So, what I say is this.
My question
We
again.
pardon me. We take Nigeria.
So,
we talk so passionately about Nigeria, but we are.
How are we unable to take that passion that all of us, for instance, this table now, we are all very passionate.
Let me bring the matter home.
Yes.
The issue is this: every society is driven by its conveyor belt, which is the liberal class, journalists, writers, lecturers, union leaders, and so on. In the Nigerian case, in order to keep us where we are, that class has atrophied. Not because it wanted to atrophy from within, but because you use this term all the time, the weaponization of poverty, the opportunities that you normally should have to scale from one class to the other have been taken away. In the 70s and in the 80s, you could wake up and as a brilliant student, just get a scholarship and go. But all this have been taken away now. So what? In fact, that thing died by somebody coming to say, I have 4 scholarships: shared scholarship, federal government scholarship, local government scholarship, one person's daughter.
And when you tribalize it,
it's good. So
when merit is not there,
so because of those things, those who ought to be thinking for the country are beginning to move into where they can just make money and survive. That is why when they can no longer survive, they begin to do japa. If only to be able to be in a position where they can breathe and think. So the moment that class, so for example, your mother wants to vote in the village, she will call you and say, who is now the person that we should even vote for? Your uncle wants to say, who is the, so you're the one who now tells them who to,
That
so,
general disempowerment.
Yes, of that class is the real problem. Who goes to the library? So he wasn't talking about the fact that he was telling them, what have you done? Have people who don't understand health insurance.
It is us. Can I tell you that during the last governorship election in Anambra State, I was thrown out of a church WhatsApp group because I was advocating for a certain candidate whom I felt by his background was the most suitable. And the vicar just said, why would you be supporting a Catholic Well, you a Catholic. And I said it's a bad qualification.
Not
It's about
not,
this antecedent.
religion.
I was thrown out of the boat. So you can imagine, when you try to galvanize Nigerians, when you try to when you try to tell people that
even the intellectuals left in Nigeria because so many people have been yanked off already.
Yes.
And they are now living at the verge of survival.
Yes.
Now, even us here, most of us here,
Are on the verge of survival.
No, hold on. Most of us here are largely using what we call residual knowledge to subsist.
Yes. You're right.
Yes, because you were talking about writing some time ago.
Yes.
I do a lot of literature. Like I thought I would be writing for a living.
Poet Rabbi.
Until the reality of this country. When Nigeria happens to me, that you may not even be able to feed. You understand?
Yeah.
So it got to that point where you are now cut off completely. I said, so what I'm now using is residual knowledge, what I had stored before.
Yes.
Apart from the fact that you have to read law reports and all that,
Yes.
the leisure to go into literature now, which helps you to interpret anything.
Yeah.
Because the poetry, the literature, the deep works of Shakespeare and the rest of them and the philosophers, it assists your intellectual quotient to deconstruct and to recalibrate ideas.
Yes.
So and then bring them to the fore. That now, well,
It's luxury.
Yeah, you're almost getting to the deficit of that.
Then
Okay.
what do we celebrate now?
So
We celebrate
Money.
money and
We
materialism.
celebrate materialism.
Yeah,
We
that's
celebrate the
avant-gardism.
gathering we
And
saw in Lagos
also
going on now because
religion.
the
We
president,
celebrate religion so
the
much.
president has
We-
left Abuja and is in Lagos now. We celebrate those kind of gathering, not backing it up with these things we are discussing here.
Anyway,
Before now, you could be celebrated because you are intellectual.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
On social media, go and write intellectual posts now.
No, nobody will read this.
You will not see any light.
Nobody. No.
But if you come and
he's so
do one
intelligent
glamour-
and he has scholarship,
Yeah.
your family will be rated
not
so
find
high in
anybody.
the village.
So
But
we have
today,
lost
those
it.
families are
when I
pauperized.
said that Nigerians can never have sense, you people were arguing with me.
We have lost it.
When we come back, Juror Elvis will be putting his feet in the shoes of helpless deputy governors. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Middleman.
My case, the plight of deputy governors in the hands of their principals, the governors in Nigeria democracy. Section 191 of the Nigeria Constitution states that the deputy governor shall hold office of the governor of the state if the office of the governor becomes vacant by reason of death, resignation, impeachment, permanent incapacity, or removal from office by any other reason. However, this hasn't been the case in Nigeria since 1999, the advent of Fourth Republic. For example, the fracas between state governors and their deputies began with the then Lagos State Governor, Bola Tinubu, when he orchestrated the removal of his deputy, Mrs. Koforola Bokno. Then came Femi Pedro, who was also removed before the end of Tinubu's administration. We also have Governor Ojiuzo Okalu of Abia State, who removed his deputy, Mr. Yanya Aberibe. Then, the then governor of Enugu State, Sylvian Chume, removed his deputy too, Sunday Oyebuchi. Remember the late Governor Suntai Dambaba of Taraba State, before his October 25, 2012 plane crash that incapacitated him as a result of the brain injury he sustained. Also instead an impeachment notice against his deputy, Alhaji Abubakar Danladi. He was eventually impeached on October 4, 2012. Not to talk of many cases of governors not transmitting power to their deputies when going on vacation. Most recent was the case of late Governor Akeredolu and his deputy, Lucky Aiyedatiwa. Governor Akeredolu was rumored to have been incapacitated as a result of his struggle with leukemia, cancer of the blood. Instead of transmitting power to his deputy to act on his behalf, the cabals of the ailing governor were threatening to impeach the deputy governor until the intervention of the chief mediation officer in Aso Rock, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. my verdict, the governor should learn to respect and uphold the Constitution which they swore to defend upon assumption of office. State houses of assembly should learn to support legality and not to be used as tools by a sitting governor against their deputy. The people who are the owner of democracy should rise to the occasion of speaking truth to power at all times so as to safeguard democratic tenets. My case.
All right. Yeah, if you look at verdict number 2 in your submission, you'll find out that one of the things the House of Assembly was said to have put out against the then deputy governor was that he didn't know how to greet.
Hey,
Actually, part
whoa.
of the impeachment notice that he didn't know how to greet. What happened? It was said that the then speaker, that was the day he visited the deputy governor's office, and the deputy governor had a visitor. He didn't even know the speaker was coming, and then because he delayed the speaker, so that was part of what was put.
Like junior secondary school students.
That is it. So you find out that even that worse things are done by the houses of assembly than even the government. They enable,
Judiciary too.
They enable these acts of malfeasance.
You remember Governor Adeleke when the judiciary was writing him when he lost the Supreme Court. Was it at the appeal court that they said that he should go and continue? He should go and continue dancing.
No,
Can you imagine? So even the judiciary, we they play.
The solution to the problem is that the office of the deputy governor is not defined by the Constitution. They just say carry running mate, no objective. So what we should do is to amend the Constitution and assign roles to the deputy governor.
Specifically.
You understand? Then let him remain accountable to the government.
And then there has
But
to be
let
a
his
resume.
roles- let his roles be defined.
Like the
what
vice
they call,
presidential.
what they call, description, office, the description of job.
Job description.
Job description. When you have that, it will help the governor to get on track proper. Because
When
as
choosing.
a deputy governor, as a deputy governor, you don't know when you are doing the wrong thing.
Ewo.
You don't actually. You are fluid. You are like water, and by virtue of that idleness conferred on you,
By the Constitution.
you will want to now play politics, which the governor will misinterpret. So you're always going to have problem as long as your role is not defined. What they say, don't sit down here.
And
Okay?
you sit there.
You know that you are not supposed to sit there. It's defined. But this one, you are not told anything. When you go there and sit down,
Somebody will now look at you. Why are you sitting?
Stepping the band of the.
You understand?
But if the role of the deputy governor is not properly defined, we saw the case that happened in Bayelsa State. The governor that was elected under the APC, Leon, that
Lost his seat
lost it at the point of swearing in
because
the
of
case
his
that removed
deputy.
him, that never made him to step to Creek Haven, as they call their house.
deputy have 5
is
names.
because of his deputy.
Yes.
Now, if that is as important as that,
Yes.
that a deputy
Why
can
don't
make
you-
the governor who chose him as his running mate not to get into the office, why is it that when the deputy gets into the office, he becomes redundant?
it become redundant.
Fantastic question.
Yes, it becomes redundant because the constitution only talk about
The candidacy.
the single ticket and their emergence. The two of them must be clean and without error. They must be above board, like Caesar's wife. But once they cross that threshold,
The Constitution is now silent.
The job of the governor is what is now
Recognized.
defined as the chief security officer of the state.
Yes.
The deputy now is not the chief security of anything. He
Yeah,
just flew.
There is nothing other than.
You understand? So in my state, what they did was to reserve issues of chieftaincy to deputy
No,
governor,
but-
and they take some issues, but not the same in every state.
But
In some
isn't
other
that
state, they assign education, assign this, assign that.
Juror Evans, isn't that because the role of the deputy is only to step in, right, to replace the governor?
No, but-
When the governor, for instance, has to leave the country.
No, but in the event that the governor is available, he should have a role defined by law.
He's a replacement now.
No,
So
no,
he's-
Non-resident has specific roles in the constitution. For
You
example,
need to have a
the
specific
National
role.
Economic Commission also is under the vice president.
Is it constitutional or the president that gave it to him?
NEMA, I think, is under vice. There are specific things under vice president's office. Otherwise, I mean, what would he be doing that day to day? Okay, yes.
But for
In the
deputy
constitution-
governor,
he doesn't have a role day
So,
to day.
because when you hear the consequence, for example,
so if you check the success rate at the center, the president and the vice president, in terms of harmonious relationship and working together,
Yes.
compare it with governors
yeah.
and see that apart from Obasanjo and the article, which other president have we had that had issues with his deputy? From
No.
Shagari and
But I
that.
must let you know what you pointed out about the roles of the vice president. Under Buhari, he actually found ways to subvert those constitutional provisions.
Remember, they were taking
the
contract to
office-
him
so
in
what-
London.
The office of the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs is actually the responsibility of the vice president,
Yes.
which is an aberration. That office of the minister is an aberration because those are functions.
Remember the Diaspora Commission. Really and truly, if you have your Ministry of Foreign Affairs working properly, why do you need a Diaspora
Those are
Commission?
duplication of
Oh,
offices.
yes,
So
now.
they greatly orchestrated
So, and-
to subvert the constitution.
Yes.
Probably that is the reason why, since the advent of democracy in 1990 now, we've only seen Zamfara State Governor, the former governor of Zamfara State, the man that brought in Sharia law that time,
Ahmed Yarima.
Ahmed Yarima, that is only his deputy that have succeeded him
Yes.
ever since that time.
No, even Ganduje.
Ganduje.
Was yes, Ganduje. Yes.
Some of them, they are chief of staff.
You remember-
Make it more.
You remember
than
Ganduje was complaining that when he was deputy, he didn't see any money to chop. So this time it was his own to put all the dollars in it. Dollars.
So their chief of staff usually have a better chance to get in there
Than the deputy.
than the deputy.
And
himself. So it makes it-
yes, and can be explained
yes.
because we borrowed that chief of staff from America after Dwight Eisenhower became president and created that office in the White House. Ideally, the Oval Office has about 2 or 3 outlets. One of them leads to the office of chief of staff, who does the work of the vice president that you imagine day to day. Sees the president when he wants to see him, regulates who sees the president. Even the vice president books when he wants to see the president.
Wow.
Yes. You go through
If-
chief of staff.
Yes, you must go through him. If it doesn't clear you, you won't go.
Is
So-
Nigeria confused?
No, we are not.
we are not confused.
They borrowed it and they are using it very well.
No, because we have 3 systems now: parliamentary, presidential, and monarchy.
No, it's not three systems. What we have is presidential.
You mean that the president will talk anyhow to the Ooni of Ife?
It's presidential system we have. It doesn't have to talk anyhow. What for now? We are not in terms of war now.
So you see, the deputy governor of Nigeria may not be a politician. Maybe a former vice chancellor
Yes.
or businessman who has no political ambition whatsoever. Just bring him in and put him there. Be quiet, don't do anything.
Like Jonathan.
Yes, the person that they trust that combines policy and politics. Because ideally, your chief of staff is the person who ran your campaign
Yeah.
for election. Like in Lagos, we have, is it one Mr. Ayani or so, who is, so Toyain, right? So the person combines the politics and policy of government together. So he knows what is priority and what's the priority for the governor. So such a person, the governor will trust him, knowing that this person knows the in and out. So that person will most likely be in poll to succeed the
I
government.
want to join what you said with what Jumoke just said about the monarchy. Because in the same Ondo state, when a former governor was there, I think was it Agago, his son was a very influential figure in the government. The same Akeredolu died.
Yeah.
In fact, it was said that his son was the de facto governor
Yes.
of the state.
Yes.
So that aspect of monarchy, father and son ruling the state, I think that's one area that
Okay, so
undermine
that's the monarchy. So
I say we are confused.
No, I don't think we are confused. We are running. You see, democracy cannot work in isolation. Democracy must be diffused into the social, cultural, and economic value of the people
environment.
in a way that the purpose of democracy is not repressed completely, but that there must be an injection of the people's will.
I absolutely disagree with you, Juro Rabbi.
Whether you agree or not.
You know why? In Nigeria, hold on, sir. Let me prove this point. You say, I agree with you to the extent that when you bring in any system that is borrowed, you must bring it into your culture.
Yes.
God bless you. Domestication is the right word. But the way we have domesticated democracy in Nigeria,
domesticated and
that a local government councillor can remove the Oba of Benin.
Yes.
You don't understand that our monarchs are under local government.
But of course, we are.
Let us go.
That is why in India, what they did was to completely supplant it.
Yes.
What they do, they abolish their traditional.
1973.
You understand? So
Yes,
it's either. Well, if you
It's
want them to
either or. You cannot do it
If you
together.
want them to run pari-passu, the traditional rulers are going to suffer a fait accompli. Yes, they will suffer because there is no way you alleviate them
above elected governors.
The inherited colonial system.
You
understand? Yeah, because what we do now is we have exalted colonialism over traditionalism.
You still say we are not confused.
So no, we're not confused.
Okay.
We're not confused because if you say we are confused, we will have no governance at all.
Rabbi, do you
But we
stand
have
for the
governance.
Republic or for the monarchy? Let me ask you spot on.
Fantastic
No,
question.
I don't think monarchy is the way to go because monarchy.
No, that is the Republic.
Well, the Republic is this call to nationhood that has failed because democracy is a call to nationhood.
Yeah.
Democracy says, come out from your enclave, come out from your tribes. Everybody come out. There's a bigger deal. Let's
come
it.
together.
You understand? Well, nationhood is the bigger deal, but when nationhood fails, people recline to their tribe because the tribe is a natural enemy of the state. So tribe is jealous. That is why when people gather, you hear people say, we own Nigeria, we will decide whether you stay or go. You understand? Like some tribes,
Yes.
more Nigerian than others.
Yes, they do.
Because nationhood has failed.
That's it.
If nationhood has succeeded, we don't need to know who the governor is or who the president is.
What's the solution?
We will just flow. The solution is to entrench nationhood, patriotism.
Who will do it?
Let's repress tribal jingoism and bigotry. Repress it completely. Stall democracy. Let's have a vision. We don't have any vision anywhere. And it's difficult for you to find a hungry man that will sustain a vision. You can't sustain vision when you are hungry.
When we come back, Juro Emeka will be peeping at the crowd that visited the home of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Lagos.
Middleman.
My case, Nigerians have misplaced generosity. Sometime during the Christmas holidays, a video emerged of large crowds at the Lagos home of President Bola Tinubu waiting for handouts. In other places, in other parts of the country, public spirited individuals reportedly donated various items to the less privileged. Laudable as the letter was, I found it to be a sort of misplacement of generosity, if you permit that term. Such money could have been put into building factories. My verdict, Nigeria needs to get its people to be more productive. The idea of clustering at the homes of influential Nigerians at such festive seasons should be discouraged. Wealthy Nigerians need to invest more in productive ventures than periodic or seasonal philanthropy.
That's a serious one. And it resonates with everything we've been discussing here. Sometimes
That will only happen the day we get sense.
The issue, the issue here is that it has become customary for people to congregate around politicians, especially because
Weaponize poverty.
They will get handouts. See, and this issue is just because now the Tinubu is now the president, is a regular case, annual case.
He has been doing it since he was governor.
He's been doing it for a very long time. So this is not the first time. It's just that the camera went there this time. Okay.
The camera has been going there since.
Yeah, but what is so, and you see,
you remember 2 billion vans in entering his house.
The masses have a problem that only them can solve. The day the masses decide not to follow the politicians any longer,
The day we decide that we do not want
they will
rice.
now, yes, they will now start to pant. Look at the NSAS. At the NSAS, people who
We brought our own food.
who seemingly were supporting the politicians decided not to. We're calling them, we're summoning the politicians. Tinubu was summoned on
Yes,
phone.
yes.
On phone. I don't know if you
Yes,
saw the video.
we saw the video.
When he was
Two
saying
young girls.
He does not.
He doesn't know. It was
does
not him.
control the army.
He said it
not the one
wasn't
that
him.
sent them. He does not control the army. He's not the owner of the property he's alleged to have owned and all that. He was so sober.
Defending
Do you
himself.
understand? But can Nigerians sustain
That is
that?
Weaponized poverty, sir.
The only way you can keep your dignity is your ability to take your eyes off your neighbor's property.
Yeah.
If you cannot, if by greed or by whatever it is, your desire, you surrender yourself to begging and clustering and moving from one point to the other because you have to eat. This unnecessary hustle to eat, has created more problem for the masses than they can solve in 10 lifetimes. So if we don't do away with these politicians and tell them that to help with whatever it is they have, we want good governance, we're not going to get out of this.
But
It's first string for the politicians. That's why they continue with it. Remember, the former governor of Ekiti State told us he defined it as
Stomach infrastructure.
And since then, even before then, before he gave it a name, he's been there, and it has come to stay. It's also, extended to our legislators. They come in another form, another name. They call it empowerment. By the time they are coming with rice. They are coming with a grinding machine and all that. Is that the job of an elected legislator? It's
No.
not their job.
It's
But because
infrastructure.
they know too well that we will, embrace this and begin to sing their praises. Oh, he's the one that made me to have this. That's the reason why they come and do all
Let
this
me give a
stuff.
typical example of what he's saying, sir. Sorry to have interrupted you. Governor Ganduje, PhD holder in public administration, all his education, scholarship, federal government. Now, he wanted to empower his people. He brought out noodles, bread, egg, tea for Métis to do Métis. At some point, he brought out wheelbarrows for them to be doing alabaro in the market. Another time, it was shoe shining. And when I questioned it, they said, you don't have PhD in public administration, Ajumoke. How can you be questioning that this man understands what his people want? Now, the government educated you up to PhD, right? And you think that the way to educate and empower your own people is to give them immediate sustenance.
Jumoke, you've seen the one that just happened that day, that the governor have to start marrying for
Yes.
buying bed.
Hundreds
in Kano, they buy
hundreds
bed,
of
they buy
couples.
food stuff and buy bed and
you are marrying for illiterate.
Then when that food stuff is exhausted,
You carry their children as
Almajaris,
Almajaris.
they'll be on the street. These are going to give birth. You see the number. So the way they
No,
raise it,
but they are reasoning correct for their selfish reasons. Because those Almajaris are the ones that are going to vote.
they are the
They need them.
These people they are marrying for were marginaries who have now succeeded through the rank of roaming about
Of
to a
Almajarism.
point where they can now
Graduated.
marry. Now, as we are doing this analysis now, all of them are copulating and producing.
Hey.
You understand?
Extending the population.
Yes, we are speaking this issue, they are altering the population
yes.
by virtue of their activities. At the end of the day, you now
They will now say that there are more people in the north.
yes, you now say,
And the north has to determine the president.
you now say that there's a desertification, they should come down, they have land and all that. So we are making a big mistake. in
Yeah,
this
but
country. We're not controlling anything.
The question I have had to ask is, because the topic, the case Juremeka raised is tangential. It's important.
Yes.
He is trying to explore and question the psychology of mass behavior in the way that we grovel for handouts, right?
Yeah.
Now the question is, I've had before two questions: are the masses truly a critical mass, in the sense that they're able to intelligently
They are
come
not.
together?
No, they are
So
not.
then, number two, can fallen man raise himself by himself beyond his fallen state?
No.
So it means that my wife used to tell me at home all the time, she said, those who are educated no develop education. I must defend education, otherwise it will be lost. Because somebody, that beggarly thing you're seeing there, somebody can become a millionaire overnight.
Yes.
You tell me you should not go and skew and beg. You don't get what I'm saying?
I guess.
Somebody can go to those. If he goes to 3 places to beg this Christmas
There are people.
and queue,
There are people who have been made by the same man
To believe.
who are now billionaires.
exactly. So to say
Who started by going there
yes,
to collect.
yes. So
So those role models, are you not saying that they are inconsequential? That these ones should not.
So
follow
the
their
question should be how.
Those of us that are not queuing,
Yes. How can we then?
how
say-
rich are you?
No, but in Nigeria, it's very difficult for the middle and sub-middle class to communicate to the lowest class. I wrote a piece about it during the NSAS. You see, those who started it are the middle class, the sub-middle class, the Gen Zs. They started it for a purpose, to drive a cause. When the lowest class came, with,
And join them.
yeah, with their displaced intellectual organization, they hijacked it and made it a criminal activity by burning places and looting. They went to the High Court, entered the High Court, burned the place, brought out the wig and gown of one of our judges, wore it, and sat,
two
did their own
pictures.
case and gave a judgment on their own case. They disseminated everything. But as when that was going on, the middle class and sub-middle class who started to pull out
They had to.
because they are not able to communicate with the Lord. So they are not able to communicate with the consequences of their action or the likely consequences of what they have started. You understand? There was an Arise TV journalist that went to cover it, and one of these cadres came to him and said they should get out. He was speaking Yoruba to get out. The guy had to switch from English to Yoruba.
He was
Say,
TVC.
Ajowani.
Ajowani.
Now
It was
we-
TVC.
You understand? It was TVC.
It
That
was TVC.
now we were trying to come down to the level to play along to enable him escape.
Speak his language.
Yes, to enable him escape. So you see that disconnect that exists between the upper class, the what do you call the bourgeois,
Yes.
and the middle and sub-middle class. It's the same disconnect that you have between the sub-middle class
yeah.
and the middle class with the lowest class.
So I hear you, Juro Evans, but again, the question comes down to one thing. That's what you have now called the lower classes. Did they organically, of their own accord, willingly, reasonably move into that scenario, or they were actually sponsored? Because you see, it's like that.
Yes, see, whichever way you look at it,
So you
for
look at
you
good
to be able to,
behavior,
for
yes.
you to be able to sponsor anybody to harsh violence, the person has to be of the lower class.
Certainly.
You will not be able to sponsor me.
And they must trust you.
You cannot sponsor me to
Yes.
harsh violence.
Yes.
Okay? You have to be at the lowest cadre. So whichever way, whether they stumble on it, whether they organically reasoned it or plotted it or they were sponsored, it makes no difference. What is important is that they went there and their outing became antithetical
True.
to the direct
To the purpose.
That, and then the government now
Took advantage of that.
cashed on that one and label it on everyone
Yes.
and struck.
But what I saw happen, right? We have delved into this issue as an instance to really delve into the issue that Juro Emeka brought up. What I saw was anger based on the shootings on the 9th of October 20th, right? That as they were shooting innocent people, the anger of the young people on the streets, because you remember that day they had declared a curfew. Most of the middle class that you said started this uprising had withdrawn home. You now had the lower class who really didn't have any home to go to on the streets. Now, when they now started shooting, those people now said, you are shooting us, we will burn your house, we will burn this. That was now what cascaded into the following day, where everywhere was now under fire.
There were some of them who were angry because their means of livelihood was short-lived by military intervention. They were eating morning, afternoon, evening. They're drinking and they were being entertained. Okay, there was a full house, entertainment, food, music, everything. Some people took offense when the military attacked because their means of sustenance for that period was short-lived. Some other persons for other reasons, but the purpose was distorted, and we had that failed attempt.
It was such a pity.
Yeah.
When we come back, Juro Evans will be examining why poverty in Nigeria is here to stay.
Middleman.
My case, in a country well governed, poverty is something to be ashamed of. In a country badly governed, wealth is something to be ashamed of. Ambassadors of Poverty. In his poem, Ambassadors of Poverty, Philip Pullman satirized the sins of corruption by the state agents against the states and the populace. It is from here I derive my case. We are witness to the declining state of the human condition in Nigeria as currently constituted. The citizens have become the remnant of a system that thoroughly tortures them to their bone marrow. We are somewhere in between the borderline of survival and the shuffles of death. Economically, we are largely multidimensionally poor because we are a dependent population who depends on other countries' economy for sustenance. Whilst we cannot put our house in order and use our natural human and material resources to drive employment and productivity. My case today is a plea to the rich and the government to save Nigeria and her citizens from being forced into extinction by hunger. A quick check across villages in Nigeria will leave you with unfathomable revelations of the wreck poverty has caused across Nigeria. Let the wealthy in our clans and communities find at least 5 persons within their neighborhood to assist, either in business, by giving soft loans, mentorship, and the likes, to help save this country and her population from the shackles of poverty. Let the government rise to the standard that it is absolutely unacceptable to watch citizens provide all they need for themselves and still end up paying taxes. In the same token, their taxes aren't put to good use. The taxes meant to take care of the police, for example, are diverted to other causes. Then the police descends on the citizens thereafter. The social contract theory of reciprocity and its concomitant sympathetic resonance is truncated by the mishap and lopsided policies of government, such that it fails in all its attempts on social welfare scheme to placate the poor, from Shopee to trader money to market money to keke napep to the recent school fees loan. The poor are still poor. My ruling: to curb poverty, the government and the government must agree. Poverty is a hydra-headed monster, a cankerworm that is eating deeply into our nation's solidarity. Let the welfare scheme be designed in such a way that it is not just dishing out monies like in the past, but same should be followed by a scheme to help pull the poor out of poverty. A strategic and well-focused objective scheme must be drawn. The previous intervention did not work because the poor are too poor to the point where assistance sometimes aggravates their poverty. There is a need for a hand-holding approach to weather the horrible storms of poverty. I shall go to Rabbi again.
Now, I agree with all your verdicts, right? Except the one that says that we should help our neighbors. Because during Juror Emeka's case, right, I nearly accused Nigerians of incapacitating government when we have become government of our own, empowering ourselves and doing the things that government ought to do. Then they have the capacity, the ability, wherewithal, and even the funds to steal the money that is due as our patrimony, allocate it to themselves and their lackeys and their mentees, you know, because we're not doing what we ought to do in terms of demanding good governance from them. So Jumoke will come and empower Cyril. Rabbis...
It's called redistribution of wealth.
I agree. But unless and until we all agree to first and foremost, right, pay taxes. A lot of Nigerians do not pay taxes. It's indirect taxes like VAT. And then the government will even say, you don't go to Ojuwoye market and pay VAT there. It's when you go to the supermarkets that you pay VAT. But the point I'm driving at...
that are exempted.
The point I'm driving at, the unbanked Nigerians that eat from hand to mouth, they don't pay taxes, right? So when government is buying private jet and yachts, they will think, it's not even my money. Do you get what I mean? Unless and until we hold ourselves as a people and demand good governance and say, your own business is to provide infrastructure. Give us 24 hours power and see if the extremely poor will not find something to do with that electricity. Give us good roads so that we will transport the farm produce to the buyers.
The government
give us...
The role of government was established.
Yes. Once we demand that, right, and then government is using public patrimony to provide infrastructure, healthcare, education, unless and until then, should we now say, whoever is now still left in poverty, oh yeah, let us be our neighbor's keeper.
Are you saying we cannot do this in the internet?
No, I agree with you.
We are doing government work to the extent that they now have money to steal.
No, there's a line that was mentioned there, which I want to speak on.
Yes.
Mentorship.
Yes.
For you to get what you just said, George Moke,
We must mentor ourselves.
Absolutely. Knowledge
I agree.
is given to those that do not have it.
I agree.
Because before you can educate somebody that what you are doing, that fuel you are buying your generator in your home to power your home, electricity is supposed to come from government.
Yes.
It's because the government failed in their responsibility. That's why every evening you see the filling station is unnecessarily crowded. Nigerians going to buy 5 liter, 2 liter to power their gen. Somebody need to be educated. He need to have a mentor who will let him know where the government has failed in his life. And if that mentorship is, taken across board, you see, after you have gotten the knowledge because you had a mentor, a mentee, then I too, you transfer it to me. I should be able to also talk 1 or 2 persons into it. This is where the government failed that brought this hardship onto us. You see, the line will go. Then you now begin to see that even if you are not giving a loan or you have a grant, you will be able to know how to use it. Not giving a loan.
So marry extra wives.
You get that loan. What you've not been doing before, you now see it as an opportunity. Oh, let me go to supermarket. Maybe you've not visited before. Let me go to cinema house.
That's why I said that there should be a policy, not just dishing out money.
Not dishing out money.
There should be a policy to follow.
Policy and to be guided by a mentor.
All the other schemes, from trader money down to keke to everything has failed.
Yes.
The poor, they are still poor. You understand? Because you just dish out money. There's no program to assist them.
They will eat the money now.
That's why I said they need a hand-holding approach.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that is mentorship.
Superior
I have
argument.
a different approach. I don't believe in welfareism. Doling out money, dishing out money. I believe in actually dealing with the problems that fail to that degrade the dignity of the people.
True.
Because where a people, for instance, have to trek long distances to get water, that degrades them. Where people cannot have access to medical facilities within a reasonable distance, that degrades them. Where children have to go to school,
I agree with the second one. I disagree with the first one.
That degrades them. So I believe that first of all, first duty is to hold the government accountable. Instead of expecting private individuals to replace the
God bless you.
We must hold the government accountable. First of all, let us find out by getting information.
Okay.
Information is available. Let's dig out information and ask the government. You budgeted for this. Like what tracker is doing. You budgeted for this. And you budgeted for this.
I agree.
And then why has it not been provided? When you do that, you will. First of all, what I'm saying is that before you go to other schemes,
you are speaking for the elite class. But remember what we are talking about poverty here.
We have to speak to all the classes.
It is not everybody that will understand this language you are talking about. That you have to hold government accountable. People will do it in different form by going to the street and start burning down government.
No.
Those that are not. People understand it like that.
People may understand.
That is why I said that mentorship has to. It's another level. That mentorship has to come in.
Yes.
If that mentorship comes in, people will know their rights. They will know the boundaries, hand-holding. It will be a long queue. And at the end of the day,
but there's a disadvantage to that, because if the MC Oluomos, who are mentors to some people, are holding their hands and leading them in the opposite direction also, they become a class
Who says
of
that?
people.
Who says that MC
and so
Oluomos
it was
cannot
what he
handle
got from the onset.
so?
If he had gotten the right
I'm
mentorship,
saying that mentorship can go left or right. So we ought to be careful if we leave mentees to mentors that have negative intentions.
So, but I wanted to come to the crux of the issue that Rabbi Evans raised this. Now, it's a very, very critical issue. Talking about interventions that should lead to lifting people from where they are to where they ought to be. The question is, what is the goal of that intervention? Because there's welfareism, which Emeka referred to.
So that money was voted by.
There is also.
Yes, now we all knew.
There is also progressivism. There are two different things. If your goal is wealth creation, you can't create wealth by welfareism.
True.
Welfareism can only do wealth creation.
I agree.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
But progressivism can.
Step.
Yes. Progressivism is actually a system that is aimed at bridging social inequality. It's not meant to help you to start.
come out.
It is step by step.
No.
If you want to preach progressivism to a man that has not eaten in 3 days,
They don't understand.
Can
That's
never.
not a priority.
Never.
they will not understand.
Yeah, so when we talk about policy, we need to take one step backward and say, what should be the philosophy to guide the policy? When we adopt it, so when we were in the Marxist school, they to tell us something about surplus value. They say the man who is cutting grass, they tell him, okay, cut grass very well. If you're diligent, you become wealthy tomorrow. But the question is that you earn $1 for 40 years, you can never become wealthy.
But should it go?
But is it what is the goal?
Hold on.
But
I want to give a very practical, example. With any for $4 cutting grass for 40 years can be augmented with welfareism. Welfareism can be providing food stamps, providing transport,
For emergency.
Shelter.
Yes,
For emergency.
but a progressive system now does something else. It says, okay, what's the level of education? We are going to
None.
None. But yes, so yes, now so come to you and you have 4 children. We are going to put a little more scholarship. By the time one becomes a pilot, another becomes an aerospace engineer, you have been pulled out of poverty permanently. But so progressivism is what we should be thinking now. So
It's long term.
it's long term.
How about the emergency?
So the question is,
should the goal be about getting wealthy?
Exactly.
Or should the goal be about living a sustainable life?
So that is
Because none of us cannot be.
livelihood.
All of us cannot be wealthy.
Because I get uncomfortable when the discussion is
So
about
the
getting
question
wealthy,
is,
getting
yes,
wealthy.
so now
It should be about building sustainable livelihood.
I already said this. So now you look at that money. In all sincerity, those are not progressive policies. Those are purely welfareist. Just sustaining where you did until your eye open, and those are you never open. So where are we heading? For me, you can't. Everybody, all of us can become billionaires in one economy.
Yes.
It's not possible.
At all.
But can we, like Emeka, can we reduce the indignity man is suffering? Sure, we can. So what we ought now to do is to lift. My own is that the goal should be to sustain the man is to lift him practically. Empower him to have the skill sets that are required for him to succeed.
Change his mindset.
Change mindset.
And it will go through generation. Because
Of
what
course,
you
it has
say,
to go through.
progressively will go through generation. Because
Yes, we'll have
by
to
the
go
time one is out of this inherent poverty that is, endemic in us, you see, it will begin to pull out the
Can I just
successive
quickly add
generation
something?
behind it.
There is something I notice in us Nigerians generally. A lot of people don't believe you have to fight to get out of your problems or out of poverty. They just believe that, okay, I go to church,
Is
I
the
go
faith,
to mosque,
is
and then
is
God should come and rescue me from it.
Providence will appear.
They don't believe that you got to make conscious, intentional, deliberate effort. So sometimes when they see me move knowing that, look, poverty is staring in the face, and I don't want you to catch me. It looks like this guy is too ambitious. What is your own? Where are you rushing to? And you know what? The same Nigerians will depend on the same Nigerians who go the extra mile, who fight poverty. You find those who are laid back.
Analyzing it.
And we expect you. We expect you to extend your hand. Extend your hand. That entitlement mentality now kicks in. So how do you now sustain that?
So I think
balance.
The point Rabbi Juro Evans raised is very, very genuine. And let me reiterate it. The question of mentorship. It was what Jesus Christ did. He came and took disciples and said, watch how I do, not just what I say. In a society where government does not have any plan of making people billionaires, which is rather strange. Because in America and in China, they will say they want to people out, and you see, they will create an environment for people to do business and thrive and become
But they don't make people billionaires. No government can
in
ever
Nigeria.
make people
No. In Nigeria,
enabling environment
yes,
for you to succeed. Whatever you're doing.
for people to compete.
I think the word is success.
No.
When you succeed, that's what I'm saying.
No. In China, they actually have a target. They say in 20 years, we want to raise 40 billionaires, and they raise them. Now, my condition is this: mentorship. How does it come in? Like Christ and his disciples, you can check and say who have become what I want to be, and how did they become that in this environment, and how can I learn their principles? If possible, draw close to them. How can I learn their principles and transform my life from where I am to where I want to be? Because the reality is, if you wait for government or hope that government is going to do it for you someday, you are on a very, very long ride to nowhere.
That is why George Jumoke said, until we get to the point where we have sex, we will still be going around in circles.
Unfortunately.
So we have come to the end of the program today. Follow us on all our social media handles at Enterprise TV. Until we see you next time, remain blessed. Signing out.
Middleman.